406 Talk Erie and the Joel Natalie Show. We're live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio at 5th and State. Also live on YouTube and on Facebook. We're in the center of Erie's Renaissance, and maybe the conductor, the concert meister, making it all happen is the CEO of the Erie Downtown Development Corporation, Drew Whiting. He joins us for his quarterly visit. How are you, Drew?
Good. Anytime the lead-in is a power ballad, we're in good shape.
We do 80s movie songs along with YouTube
I'm feeling inspired right now.
Say no more. So I was mentioning off air, I'm going to mention it on air. You've been doing some speaking around. You've been kind of lending your voice both locally and nationally on behalf of the EDDC. Tell us a little bit about some of that content there.
A lot of communities around the country are being directed to the EDDC when they're trying to figure out how they're going to turn around their own fortunes. So when the Opportunity Zone legislation was passed back in 2016-17, Matt and Tim Wachter were all over it and made sure that Erie's downtown became an Opportunity Zone across a few tracks that cover our downtown and a little bit outside of it, which those are meant to cover and help rehabilitation efforts in places that have kind of been in decline based on median income and some other factors. So it's a good thing that we got those. I would say they're not, what I tell everybody is that legislation and that tax tool is not the answer to everything. It is something that if you are going to find institutions that are community impact minded or just high net worth individuals who care about their community, it is an additional benefit to making that investment, when most of the time those investments are not going to yield returns. It'll at least give them some sort of tax benefit to make it make sense a little bit more, especially over a very long-term hold. So what, that leads to organizations that are putting on conferences about redevelopment and reclaiming identities across these small Rust Belt cities and beyond. I was in Lafayette, Louisiana for the Big Towns Conference in April. I went to the PAHRA conference in Hershey in May. And, we've been asked to testify in front of Congress. We have people coming to visit us all the time. I'm walking. You probably see me walking these people around.
Oh yeah,
somebody in here from
Drew wears a suit. Yeah. There must be somebody here.
There's probably somebody here. The Federal Reserve comes in because they're interested. Like, what's happening here? What can we learn? What can we do better? And how can we take the things that have worked and export them to other places? And I started to, when I first took this job, everybody's looking at us like this, and I didn't have anything to do with starting it, and it was hard to take ownership of it. But when you start to understand and get your hands around what is actually being built here and start to see the effort turn the corner, get into some new development, learn about the other tools that you may be able to layer in, and we have a CRIZ being added here in Erie, you realize you're in the middle of something pretty special, pretty unique, and you can set the tone and set an example for a lot of other communities. So you start to think about everything you're doing, not just as in like, hey, we're putting a country fair in the corner, but how do we solve food deserts everywhere? How do we utilize economic development tools that are available in all communities to show the blueprint for how others can do this in the right way? And that involves us reaching out to others that are ahead of us, and we're learning from them. I look at Syracuse, New York, which is probably 5 to 10 years ahead in this kind of an effort.
Interesting, yeah.
Starting to see like the big job development because they built up their downtown 15, 20 years ago. Now the big companies are coming in because there are places for younger employees who they want to attract and retain to live before they have the house in the cul-de-sac where they can live, work, play in a downtown. Those big jobs that everybody's yelling for here, those will show up if we continue to do the right things and create the environment where it actually makes sense for them to show up. We have the university talent. Can we keep them? Well, the reality is if you want to keep a 23-year-old or a 25-year-old, you need to have a really strong, vibrant, amenity-rich downtown. And that is our job at the EDDC. At the heart of what we're doing, we are kickstarting that engine. And then we hope that over the course of decades, this is not a couple-year project,
No.
that we'll start to see our efforts bear fruit. And so, we opened a 5-iron in Syracuse earlier this year, and we've kind of been over there for the last 2 years, meeting a lot of the people that run the equivalent of their EDDC and Downtown Partnership and their civic leaders. And I've been getting them in touch with our civic leaders and our Downtown Partnership to make sure that we're learning from people that are ahead of us too, because, we all need to help each other. This is not easy work.
Yeah.
And for somebody in this role or in a role like Tina or even our mayor, these types of jobs in a city like this, there's not a lot of people around that you can have a normal conversation about work with, because nobody else can relate. This is not your normal 9 to 5. So when you're having those conversations with other people in communities doing the same kind of work, there's a little bit of a brotherhood, sisterhood, camaraderie going on there too. So from a personal standpoint, it's very fulfilling to develop those relationships as well.
Do you feel that the average person that's willing to be educated in Erie, Pennsylvania, understands the true essence of what the EDDC is doing down here?
Yeah, I think the average person that's willing to be educated can see all the good, the bad, the wins and the struggles, and there are plenty of them. There are a lot of younger leaders coming up and people who've been around for a while that have stuck it out and are now helping current leadership drive the bus forward. And they get it. I mean, you can't expect everybody that's going about their day-to-day life dealing with kids and work, and we're in a tough enough economy to then start paying attention to how the hell the economic development organizations in town are actually using tax incentives and you name it to make things happen, and where they're having success and where they're struggling. They just see the headlines. They'll listen to a radio show like this. They'll watch the news. And so it's incumbent on us to make an effort to educate when we have these opportunities. So that's what we try to do. And I get plenty of practice when I'm, explaining this to my parents and to my friends that aren't involved in the day-to-day. So, we're here doing the work, and then I'm doing my best to communicate it in a way that's as honest as possible.
I'm interested in what your parents have to say. Really interested in what your in-laws have to say, because they're the ones that are here, right? And they've seen the trajectory of Erie. They knew what downtown looked like before you guys moved back.
Yeah, they have seen they've been along for the entire ride. They're both about 70 years old. They remember what State Street was back in the 60s and 70s, and have fond memories.
The 20 teens, I'm sorry. I mean, it was rough in 2015.
They have fond memories of what it was here when they were kids.
What it could have been, yes.
How things went in the direction that they did, and how we got to where we are today. And, I think they're not unlike a lot of other people in this town. And there's a lot of questions coming my way when I'm in those conversations, and I enjoy it. I mean, there's specifically people like them, those who truly do want to see the best for Erie, that aren't just reflexively negative about everything and down about things and distrusting of everybody who's trying. There's a lot of curiosity, and I love to have those conversations.
Yeah. The concept, we don't need another hotel. The concept of so that somehow by building more housing downtown, it's overpriced. I've seen that complaint, and I'm thinking this is a total free market scenario. Willing seller, willing buyer. That's what sets the price of the rent.
Yeah, and
it's not artificially high,
right?
Because you don't have a waiting. You wouldn't have a waiting list if it was.
I think it comes back to everybody has their own perspective on things, and a lot of people are saying, "Hey, we see all of this money being invested in hotels and nice apartments downtown and these businesses." But I don't see any real jobs coming. I don't see the factory jobs coming back, the family sustaining union jobs. And I don't disagree that we want to see that too. But it's not going to come back in the form that it was here before.
No.
We're not going to see another coal-fired power plant. We're not going to see another shingle factory or paper mill. The new jobs that are coming are the jobs that require young, educated talent, that require people that have training in the trades, that are people that are hard to attract and retain to a Rust Belt city in general, or would have been impossible 10 years ago. What we're trying to build is the ability for the next business that lands here, like a Micron in Syracuse, to be like, yeah, we're confident we're going to be able to attract, 300 people between the ages of 24 and 34 that want to live here because there's a downtown. If we don't have this, if we don't have the hotels, if we don't have an airport with flights, not happening. So we have to do many things at once to get this to the end that we all want to see a decade or more from now. Could happen faster, but the horizon that I look at is for every day, where are we going to be in a decade if we put our foot forward in this direction? And turns out when you build really nice housing downtown, you have a wait list.
Yes.
And if you look back at the headlines 7-8 years ago, and we were talking about this class of housing at 5th and State, there was a lot of people that were critical and skeptical that we'd be able to fill any of them, let alone have 104 full with a wait list of like 80.
That is the facts.
Yeah.
Before I go to break, I want you to weigh in on this Opportunity Zones 2.0. My concern with it is that now that we're moving into rural areas, not that rural areas don't need help for investment, but does it water down kind of the critical mass function of an Opportunity Zone?
I don't think so.
Okay.
What's considered rural is like Corey. Like it's a small downtown, but there is some critical mass there, and they shouldn't be left out. Meadville shouldn't be left out, not Edinburgh. And so when we are looking at the new iteration of this, a couple things are good. One is they've taken the good parts of the OZ legislation 1.0 and moved those forward. They've fixed some of the issues that were there and some of the timing that has created a little bit of a glut here as we move towards the end of 1.0.
Okay.
But, again, this is a tool that is like, there's never going to be the true catalyst in itself. You have to have a local set of stakeholders that's already wanting and willing to do this and understanding how important it is. And here's a little bit of a break on the back end if you do, and you hold, not flip. And that's the kind of investment that we do need in these communities. And I've heard the criticisms. This is a tax giveaway to the wealthy. This is some neoliberal BS that we don't need to see, and this is not how we should be spurring economic development in our communities. But I would like to hear from those people what their ideas are. This has proven to, in part, have an impact that's positive and get us to the point where we can at least have the conversation about what other tools might be necessary, because we have enough people here now that actually care and can see that something does work. And
I just am amazed that it attracted significant outside dollars. Again, you had your equity fund of locals, but it was the OZ that was able to bring in the Arteris and so on.
It was helpful, but again, the reason Arcteris came in was not purely because of the OZ. It's because they saw a bunch of local committed stakeholders that were in OZ or no OZ.
Okay.
The OZ certainly helps, and it makes these projects more sustainable in shorter order in the long run. But it all starts with the people in your community that can move the needle, getting together and saying enough is enough. We got to do something about this. And hell, now we got some incentive to do it. Why don't we just go for it?
Beautiful.
So it prompts that discussion, and it gives a little extra push along the way.
All righty. Drew Whiting is with us. It's 4:20. You're tuned to Talk Erie. Stay with us.
We got to get started.
Drew Whiting is with us here on Talk Erie. It was super cool last week, Drew. They topped off the Flagship City Commons building.
Yeah.
I almost feel like you saved the best for last.
You've got a front row seat to the whole thing.
I know. Even the fireworks too at the end there. Talk about that building, and it's the first time that one of the EDDC projects has public money involved. Can you explain that for us?
Yeah, it's the first time. Actually, 2025 marked the first year, and we received public funding, and it happened at like the very end of the year. So it's mostly been 26. When this project's done, all in, we'll be at about $150 million of development of our downtown, and the first taxpayer dollars are about to hit here pretty soon. The CRIS award that's coming our way for this will probably be here later this year. But yeah, in all, when we're done with this building, the total taxpayer dollars towards this effort will be around 5 to 6% of the total dollar amount.
So yeah, people thinking that all of that has already happened is taxpayer money. No. This was all private investment.
Yeah, and people conflate what we're doing with the government as well. This is not a government organization. All of our board members are private sector contributors, stakeholders throughout the community, and our funding has all been from private stakeholders and just normal debt from banks. And Arcturus is an opportunity zone fund, but this funding for this project is the first funding that's come in to the EDDC for anything. The way that it's structured is when we went in for our CRIS application, we itemized all of the things that the EDDC has spent money on that in any other community would have been civic infrastructure responsibility. So we've had to redo a lot of the flat work around these buildings.
What does that mean, bro?
So a lot of these sidewalks around the things that we've done have vaults underneath them for old infrastructure that no longer exists, that are on the verge of collapsing, but you wouldn't know that until you started to do work.
And that would normally be a city responsibility?
A lot of that stuff would be.
Wow.
The biggest ticket item was, in order to add the apartments and the additional density where the McDonald's in the parking lot were on 5th Street, we had to put in 2 big power substations in order to have the power to serve those buildings. In most cases, the private developer is not bearing the full cost of that, and that we're talking $4-5 million just to make that happen. And the list goes on.
That's not something that First Energy just said, we'll take care of it.
So our CRIS award is $10 million.
Yeah.
4.9 is structured as a grant to the EDDC, and that represents probably 2/3 of the public infrastructure work cost along the way, and the 5.1 is a loan at 6% that we have to repay back.
Wow.
So yes, we're getting taxpayer dollars, but it's not what I would call a giveaway.
Right.
With that grant, it allows us to actually own a project for the first time too. The EDDC at the moment, before this project, doesn't own anything down here. So that ownership will, help us with sustainability of the organization, provided the project goes well over the coming years, that our work continues to pay off, to allow us to keep doing work for years to come.
You said at the topping off ceremony that you're very close to basically having it all rented out.
Yeah, so still confidential at the moment.
Sure.
But the biggest thing that we need to solve for is the office space, and we have a potential tenant that we're working through details with for the office and some of the ground floor. And once we know,
which is going to be what, retail or restaurant?
So we have space down on the ground floor, 2 spaces that could be suitable for a restaurant, don't have to be.
Yeah.
2 that will not have hoods, so you wouldn't be able to run a restaurant, but you could run an office or retail location. So once we get the office settled, we'll be able to solidify what's going on with tenancy of the rest of the ground floor and the rooftop. And by the time I'm in here 3 months from now, I'll probably be able to tell you all of that.
Oh, that's really exciting. Yeah.
Hopefully we will not have seen snow yet, and that building will be pretty close to closed in so that we can start to build out.
Wow. And again, what we're seeing now is steel. this is all going to be glass, right?
So the
there's-
top of the building where you see the archways and the big centerpiece, that is all glass. The sun will be able to come all the way through to a public walkway that stretches from 5th Street to Perry Square. The building design was meant to connect, basically connect our entire footprint together.
Right.
So the parking asset that we've built to our public park and our food desert solution in the Country Fair flagship store to the food hall, which comes all the way out to State Street. So you should be able to be on that block, walk from end to end, undercover.
So you could leave Country Fair on a side door and go to the food hall?
Correct.
Okay.
And then you'll be able to walk into the food hall right where kind of Cheesery is
Yeah.
now. That wall that's got some tables there, you'll be that'll be opened up, and you'll be able to walk through right to the food hall. So yeah, the goal of that design was connectivity.
Yeah.
It was openness to the public, and it's going to be beautiful when it's done. It's been really fun to work on this one.
I have about a minute, but you were saying that there's homages to the bus station and to the old Park Opera House.
Yeah, so, Erie's got this deep architectural history throughout the city, and you've seen a lot of these big Victorian, turn of the century Art Deco buildings replaced by brutalism in the 60s and 70s, right?
Yeah, right.
But this space was actually not one of those. The bus station was, built in 1939. Before that, there was the Civic Opera House that was there until 38 when I believe it burned down. When we started the design process, what we wanted to do was, we preserved Marlena Place, which is a historic building. We basically rebuilt everything behind that facade. And to the left of it, between that, where the old Coconut Joe's entrance was, and the bus station, we've incorporated elements of the exterior of that bus station into the exterior here, which if you're familiar with that, you'll be able to pick it up immediately. A lot of the window archways and the way that the shape of a lot of the building elements is put together, callbacks to the Opera House and the bus station, and also kind of a good blend with everything around it. So,
Drew Whiting is our guest. News is next. It's Talk Erie. 434 Talk Erie and the Joel Natalie Show. Live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here in the heart of Erie's Renaissance. The EDDC and the CEO, Drew Whiting, is with us from the Erie Downtown Development Corporation. Drew, we were talking about what Tim Nicastro called the tooth filled in. We had that gap, and now that it's being filled in, and it is the end of phase one. Like it really puts a bow. Yeah, it's a capstone.
It's the end of phase one, but finished and put together much differently than the rest of phase one. With a lot of, all the other buildings started with equity capital from our local stakeholders with a lot of money to work with. This one had to come from a lot of different places. So this was a lot harder to get across the finish line to even get started. But we are, I think this is a great keystone project for us, and it'll really unleash the potential of everything else around it. Anything
wild in the construction process? You were saying something about you've got to hit the base stone.
We had to put 68 pillars and we'd anchor 68 pillars into the bedrock, which is between 20 and 25 feet below the shale, is below the surface. That was the first 4 or 5 months of work that you really couldn't see much happening, but there was a lot going on. And then there's been issues with the genius tariff policy coming out of DC that have made us play a whole bunch of games with when you're buying things and hoping you're not going to get hit with 50 or 100 stupid tariffs.
Wow.
But the navigating that, we've been able to do it in a way that's responsible and with a lot of forethought. We still have some supply chain issues, like steel was delayed for a while, but we just did the other work that we couldn't get done in that time. And we've been right now we're under budget, and we've stayed on schedule for the last year and a half since we've really been working on the construction in earnest for this project.
Tremendous. I want to pivot and go to some of the things that you were talking about. You have outreach to small businesses, and it kind of goes part and parcel with what you're trying to do at the food hall. But talk about some of the work that you're doing to kind of build capacity.
Yeah, so we anchored our small business support program at Radius, which is the home to the majority of small businesses in downtown Erie. Has contributed a lot to our main streets already, from Ember and Forge to Whitethorn Games, you name it. Even Five Iron, my own business, came out of there. And Janessa Norton was our full-time hire as our business support coordinator. She's worked with over 100 businesses in the year that she has been in that seat, and has been doing a great job. It's hard to measure outcomes in that type of a role. You're taking on some businesses that just need to get bookkeeping straightened out. You're rescuing some that would have otherwise failed with dollars or equipment, or just in general help getting a tax situation figured out. And then there's a lot of businesses you're helping get started, get ready to go into a space, and be set up for success. So the work that she's doing as kind of the point guard for those resources and making sure that the right businesses get to the appropriate place at the appropriate time for help has been making a big difference down here. And, there are great resources in town. The GDIC has their own biz hub right now. And of course there's Ben Franklin, and we've got SBDC. There's a lot of really good organizations around. What we thought was really necessary was making sure that when somebody comes through our door, or when we identify a need with a tenant or a neighbor, that we're making sure that they get to the right resource at the right time.
That makes a lot of sense. Like I said, it connects with the food hall, and the food hall was an early win for the EDDC. But as it evolves and as it kind of matures a little bit, has the mission changed a little bit, or not so much?
I think the mission is of the food hall as a food service business incubator is still the same, and we've seen the impact of that. Dina's is about to open their second location in a couple of weeks. Cheesery has a second location in the mall, and we're seeing EPA. They have an operation down in Lawrenceville and Pittsburgh right now.
Wow.
Noodle Love has a separate location in New York City. And we're seeing those businesses be able to prove their concept and then move on, or not move on. Some move on and leave. Some open a second location and hang around, and that's okay too. But we look at the landscape of what's here in just the area that we can see from the studio at 5th and State. And when those restaurants opened up, those 8-9 kitchens, there wasn't really anything else around here.
Right.
There was a Subway and a Rita's down the street, right?
That's right.
And then soon, not that long after, Jimmy John's opened up. Well, in the last 2 years, like 12 different restaurants have opened up within 2 blocks of the food hall.
It's incredible.
Not to mention Country Fair, which has its own place where you can get lunch, breakfast, everything else.
There's 3 people working in the kitchen at Country Fair.
So, post-pandemic, while foot traffic came back, it was great for everybody, but you also added a lot of other options into the mix. So, those dollars are now being spread around more. So we have to be even more careful now about how we allocate space, how we're, not overlapping food categories if possible and not creating unnecessary competition, because, if 4 coffee shops next to each other, they're all going to fail. If you have 2 and they're different and they're far enough apart, they could both succeed, right? So we're Sean Fedorko talks about this all the time. It's curating the right mix of businesses in your corridor is as important as building it up by itself, because you need to ensure that you're giving these businesses the best chance at success so that others will join the party.
Who's been coming to the food hall? We were noting how Preach does a great job on Tuesday nights, fills that place. It's a lot of pizza getting sold. And
I think for a couple of years when the food hall was first open, it was kind of a predictable crew of regulars that were the people that work around downtown, the residents of ours and in neighboring towers. But it feels like it's been diversified over the last couple of years. Specifically, you have people coming downtown more often. There's those that when Dave's Diner reopened, Serafini's open, and Country Fair open. They're coming to this neighborhood when they hadn't before, and then they're checking out the other things around them. So I think the addressable crowd has diversified quite a bit over the last couple of years. We're seeing new customers at a higher rate, which you can track at the point of sale system, and even seeing it at 5 Iron, which isn't, it's 4 or 5 blocks away, but 50 to 60% of our customers on a monthly basis are first time customers still. And
so you're bringing in 50 every month.
Yeah. 50%. So I like to look at the data from both that business and things down here, because they're very different. And they're in slightly different parts of downtown, but they tell a very similar story. And if I ever see one telling one story and one telling the other, I want to know why. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of new visitors, and that's a really encouraging thing.
You mentioned Serafini's. They had a big win with their kind of piazza out the door in the summertime.
Yeah. It took us a while to get there. Thankfully, we were able to, work out a deal with our partner in the Erie Art Museum that supported our effort to get them out there. And it's been phenomenal. I mean, when they opened the courtyard, their sales doubled the next month. So it's that kind of, it makes a difference. You have outdoor dining in a really beautiful historic setting. Of course it does well. That's what people wanted. They want to be in beautiful places and enjoy a good time with their family. And Amanda and Opie took that space and just really maximized its potential, like they do with everything else.
Wow. Amazing. How are your folks doing in the Bunnell building, Hazards, the Brig,
Great.
and so on?
The Brig has been running consistently for almost 2.5 years now, and Hazards has been open for 1.5 years. Kay's Nails is open there now, and we've got Primo and the Dollhouse. Lewis with Primo is another great example of prove it out on State Street and see what you can do elsewhere. He has a location now in Pittsburgh, and then you can't see it from the street, but up on the 3rd floor behind the Brig, because he's now got to serve 2 locations. He's got seamstresses, tailors working up there, and a lot of their inventory storage is being kept up there now too. So, and it's fun. Larry Franco Jr. is helping him build the space out, who's got Franco's across the street. So you're kind of seeing this ecosystem of collaborative collegial people in the area helping each other out and really trying to build the fabric of what we have going on down here. Nothing makes me happier than every year around the holidays when Stephanie Hunt from Copper Carriage and Emily George from the Dollhouse show up, and they've got like great ideas for how we need to activate State Street to take advantage of Small Business Saturday momentum and the holiday season in general. Those are the types of things that happen in healthy downtowns, and we've been seeing it for a couple of years now, and it's really encouraging.
Talk about with the switch of the new administration. We're 6 months into it now. Have you had a strong partner in the city? I got to admit, I still don't see, in my opinion, enough bicycle officers or beat officers north of North Park Row, to my taste.
Yeah. In short, I mean, a great change.
Okay.
We're running our downtown events programming, and we have somebody from the city in the room with us who's helping us plan and making sure that we're aware of other things that are going on. And there's just like pure just willingness of communication.
Terrific.
We have somebody that's leading from the front when it comes to economic development tools, who picks up the phone when we do need help with some enforcement of safety and quality of life laws around here. Absolutely room for improvement. And we're 7-8 months in. We're now faced with tackling a major budget crisis, which was left behind. And thankfully, we have a mayor that's comfortable doing the right things, even if that means that she's going to be she may be a one-term mayor, because it takes somebody who has the guts to make hard choices and to not bury the bad news behind accounting tricks. There's always ways to improve. There's things that could be done better. I think we need to aggressively move towards home rule in this.
So you're a home rule advocate
to unlock some of the financial tools that we can use to balance our budget here. And there's a way to do that by following the Lancaster model. Right. We certainly we want the city to be successful. We want to see our roads paved. We want to see a safe environment. We want great schools. You can't do that if you're broke. So when you inherit a city that has a big financial problem, there's only so much you could do. And at the moment, the only thing we've been able to do is actually let's dive in. Let's understand what's happening here. And then, make some cuts where possible, even if they're hard, and gear up for what kind of mechanisms we can pursue going forward. And if that means property taxes have to increase, like nobody wants to do that, but that might be necessary in the short term before we can get to a solution like a home rule. But, I am confident that we have somebody sitting on the top floor of City Hall right now that has command of the issues, that is unafraid to do hard things. And I trust that she's acting in good faith and working her hardest every day.
Let me zoom out a little bit. I've got like 5 minutes, and I want you to kind of weigh in. For example, at your corner at 10th and State, there across the street, the Trust Hotel is in full construction now.
Yeah.
Again, big project. What are we talking?
Probably 60 million.
60 million. Holy.
Yeah. That's example, just like the Modern Tool Square building, 90,000 square feet. And
so is that in active construction now too? Or getting
at the
there?
moment, they're doing renovations on the commercial side of the building to get that ready for additional tenancy on the ground floor and upstairs, where architects just moved in, and a few others.
For more housing at Modern Tool?
So initially when they took over, they renovated all of the housing stock in there.
Okay.
They basically doubled the available apartments in that building, which was huge because that gave a lot of people on our wait list somewhere to go, because it's similar size and class of housing. And
yes. People
that want to be close to the hospitals and the law firms and the government buildings.
Yeah.
So, it is people from out of town that are coming to Erie, getting a lay of the land, understanding what we're doing and where we're going. It's no different from what I saw when I first landed here. You start to, I came from a city that really grew in a very methodical way over the 15 years that I was there. And when I moved back here, I had no idea what was going on, but started to see like, they're going to build a really strong central critical mass here. And if I can see where the ball's going, I want to be there before it gets there.
It's the Gretzky, be there
exactly
where the puck is.
And so there are others that are thinking the same way, but have, greater resources and doing much bigger projects like Christian Simbita and the Trust Hotel and, Ben, Josh, and Jane at the Modern Tool Square project. We expect to see a lot more of that coming over the years as we have economic development tools ready to help close gaps on a lot of these projects.
I feel like by the end of next year, so in about 18 months, you're going to have a moment here with the Bayfront Parkway completed, your building completed, Christian's building maybe completed.
And Joel, like the reason that I can feel the excitement that you're feeling is because 18 months ago, we were saying the same thing about a lot of the other stuff that's around us today. And 18 months before that, when I first started in this job a little over 3 years ago, across the street was still a construction zone that wasn't even closed in yet. I mean, the progress that we've seen so far is progress that we've made without government help, without those incentives, except for the OZ.
Yeah.
Now it's real dollars that can help go to close gaps to get developments going, which has really been the barrier for a lot of these projects. And the reason the EDDC was able to get going is because the private sector stepped up and said, look, we know we're not going to make money on this. In fact, we know we're probably going to lose all of it, but somebody's got to get the party started. And so now that we're at this stage, we see the infrastructure being fixed up in a way that can last the test of the next probably 15 to 30 years. A CRIZ there with 15 million in today's dollars adjusted for inflation going on for the next 30 years, contributing to allow or enable a lot more projects to happen. Like, we are in a great spot to see momentum for years and years to come. I view the EDDC's role in this is making sure that those who are interested in investing in our community know where the opportunities are, have our help in whatever form needed to get those projects done, and that we're removing all of the barriers for those people to come in and make a difference, leave a legacy, and leave their imprint on our community in a positive way.
Is there still deals to be had?
There's a lot of deals to be had, Joel. It's just a matter of, do you have the vision to understand what the highest and best use for?
I see a whole bayfront that looks ripe for the taking.
If you come on a walk with me for 4 blocks, I was walking with Justin Corritor from the trash alley party back to our cars at like 9th and Peach the other night. And, every 15 feet point in one direction or the other saying, here's what I see for this in this time period. Here's the opportunity here if you're interested or if you know anybody. There's so much to do and there's so much potential. I could come back and talk to you for 2 days about each of the deals each of the opportunities that I see here. And when I have others coming in, when I have to throw the suit on and give the tours, it's not always the government officials. Sometimes it's people from out of town that have some Erie connection that are looking for one of those deals for themselves. You go to a major university, they're not walking around just collecting money. They're saying, hey, we've got a building that we want to build, or a stadium or a classroom building or a research center, and it costs $25 million and we need 5 to get it going. And they're saying, if you can give us 5, come back in 2 years and you can cut the ribbon with your name on the building behind you.
Wow.
That's the kind of work that we need to be doing. We need to be acting as the City of Erie's development office. And that's the tools that we're building right now, the conversations that we're having, the deals that we're looking at, and the opportunities we're pursuing are all in that vein.
And we need those partners in things like public safety and education and housing stock and
all of it.
Blight mitigation. Childcare. All of these things make a economic development ecosystem.
It is a lot of educated professionals who are committed to their job and love Erie, all working together in their areas of expertise that's needed. It's an all hands on deck approach. But for anybody that's listening that isn't one of those people, that's got a normal job, that's, going day to day with their family, it could just be planting the tree between the sidewalk and the road. It could just be picking up the piece of trash that you walk by instead of stepping on it as you walk down the sidewalk. Showing up to a city council meeting or a CRIS board meeting or a school board meeting to make sure that your voice is heard, that you are having an impact in your own small way. This is not something that's going to be solved by 6 people. This is an entire community that needs to be on board.
Drew Whiting, CEO of the Erie Downtown Development Corporation. Thank you, sir. Amazing stuff.
Thanks, Joel.
You got it here. 5 minutes in front of 5.